What's up and welcome to the video. I'm Dr. Daniel Ricciardi, gut health expert, licensed pharmacist, fitness enthusiast, creator of SIBO Shortcut, and also the bloating supplement Bloat Blocker. In today's video, I'm actually going to be answering your questions. I'm going to be going through my YouTube channel, picking out some really good questions that I think I answered all of them a little bit on YouTube, but probably could go into a lot more detail because there's a lot to unpack in these questions and they're all really good, relevant questions, probably for a lot of people. All right, the first one we have here comes from the video, how to take betaine HCl with pepsin, which is a stomach acid boosting supplement. And somebody asked, what about a protein shake for a meal that is liquid? Will it wash away the HCl? In this video, I talked about the point that if you're drinking a lot of liquid during meals, it can dilute stomach acid. So this question here, it's saying if you're having a protein shake, which is liquid, will it basically ruin the acidity of the stomach and lower the stomach acid enough where it's not really going to be effective? The answer is maybe. I could tell you from personal experience. So I used to work in a pharmacy for, I'm trying to think, probably from 2009 to about 2021. And I don't know if you know about retail pharmacy, super busy, don't really have time to eat. We actually just got our lunch breaks. I think it was like the year I was leaving, we were allowed to take a 30-minute break to eat. Most people wouldn't even really do it because there's so much work to do. Anyways, I used to bring smoothies, protein shakes with real food. I'd usually do protein powder, peanut butter, yogurt, whatever else I had, fruit, and I would mix it in with a lot of water and usually drink it really quick. It would be probably in like a 32-ounce smoothie, and I'd have 2 or 3 of those throughout the day, depending on how long I worked. I don't know how much water I was putting in them. It was probably at least 16 ounces, maybe more. I also had SIBO at the time, but when I was doing this, I felt pretty bad digestion wise. I'm sure there's a way that you could limit the amount of water or liquid in the smoothie to make it maybe a little bit more thick. So if you were worried about your stomach acid, this wouldn't be as bad, because the answer to this one definitely depends on the amount of liquid. Next up comes from an H. pylori video, natural H. pylori treatment regimen that works with research. So this video I made a while ago on H. pylori, and it basically looked at a natural antimicrobial herbal regimen and saw a high efficacy rate. And this research video is doing a review of that research study and analyzing it. And this person asked, doesn't this thrive in low stomach acidity? Wouldn't treatment be to increase acidity in the stomach? This is a really good question because yes, H. pylori does thrive in low stomach acidity. So why would we want to actually lower the stomach acidity? Although H. pylori does thrive in low stomach acidity, it's also, as a bacteria like anything else, is smart and does its best to survive. So if you have an H. pylori overgrowth and it senses a lot of stomach acid pouring in, instead of being active in the stomach and trying to replicate, the H. pylori actually will burrow its way into the lining of the stomach and essentially hide there, which sounds like it might be a good thing, but it's also forming ulcers in the stomach lining. And it's also much more difficult to treat, because if you're taking a medication that's trying to treat the H. pylori and it's hiding in the stomach, it's less susceptible to an antibiotic or antimicrobial treatment. This is why when you're treating H. pylori, using something like an acid blocker, like a proton pump inhibitor is commonly used. With herbal treatments, using something like baking soda before the treatment's done is also something that could potentially be useful as well to lower that acidity temporarily. So then when you do take the actual treatment, the H. pylori are more active and more susceptible to being eliminated. This next video was one of my first videos. This is probably like the first one I did that got a lot of views. It was how I treated my SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. This was one of my really old videos. I think I had my phone in portrait mode. I was just hunched over the counter, holding bottles of supplements, talking about them, but seemed to be useful. And this person asked, after getting rid of SIBO, can you start eating gluten and dairy again? This is a good question. In a lot of my previous videos, I talked about how I did not eat any gluten or dairy, or at least intended not to do so, like while I had SIBO and digestive issues, and how this can be a useful tool for a lot of people. With that said, from my personal experience, I eat gluten and dairy now pretty much every day. Granted, the gluten is sourdough bread that comes from a local bakery with sourdough typically has less gluten than normal bread. It's also very high quality bread, meaning it doesn't have a ton of different ingredients. And then dairy, there's a ton of different types of dairy, and there's a big variety and quality of dairy as well. For me personally, I've been eating Greek yogurt pretty much every day, and I also don't really shy away from eating cheese. I don't eat it that frequently, but for me personally, after fixing SIBO, healing leaky gut, and my digestive issues, gluten and dairy for me personally are not a problem. With that said, the two biggest types of foods that give people the most digestive issues, even people that don't necessarily have them, are gluten and dairy. You'll have to do a little bit of trial and error on your own to see like what it does specifically to you. For some people, not eating these is going to be the best solution. And in this short video, I just mentioned briefly, you don't need to do low FODMAP anymore if you treat SIBO. And this person asks, are you ever scared that it might come back? And what would you do if it did? Wishing you the best. First of all, thank you for your kind wishes. I was probably nervous it was going to come back the first year or maybe 2 years. But after it's been like 4 years now, and I've had food poisoning multiple times in the past 4 years since I got rid of SIBO, which was the initial cause that I got it in the first place way back in 2011. I feel like I've just been through everything that possibly could have given me SIBO again. Not trying to be like cocky or overconfident or arrogant about it, but I feel like I have a pretty good system on what I need to do to keep my body healthy. And if it did come back, I would definitely use the strategies that I outlined in my program, SIBO Shortcut. If you're not familiar with it, you get a total framework of what to do to eliminate SIBO, from testing, addressing symptoms, doing the treatment, healing your gut after, addressing leaky gut, preventing recurrence. And then I also answer questions in my private Facebook group and host live Q&As. So you get a very comprehensive approach, everything you need to eliminate SIBO. So I would do the strategies in this program because this is what's worked for me and a ton of my clients. Next question, this comes from the video that I made a while back. What are natural flavors in food and why should you avoid them? And this person asked, what if natural flavoring is in sparkling water? Nothing fattening about that. So this video talks about how natural flavorings are man-made by scientists in labs to make your brain more psychologically addicted to wanting to eat that food. And these people are doing literally anything that they can to hook you to eat more of this food and make you addicted to it. So what if the flavor is in sparkling water it's just carbonated water with a little bit of flavoring? So I can't really argue that it's as bad in that case. If that one specific thing is the only thing that you're having with natural flavorings, it's going to just be more quantity and you're going to be craving that 0-calorie beverage more. Which, if that's fine with you and you feel like your health is good and everything, then go for it. And the next question here is actually left on a video I made on bovine colostrum, which doesn't totally line up with the topic of this video, but it was a good question, is which probiotics are best and do not get destroyed by stomach acids? I actually made a separate video on this. I think the title was, what are the best times to take probiotics, or something similar to that. And basically there's 3 main types of probiotics that people are using on a daily basis. One is like a lactobacillus bifidobacterium, 2 is a Saccharomyces boulardii, and then 3 are bacillus, like soil-based organisms or spore-forming organisms. The spore-forming bacteria, the ones that start with the word bacillus, the Saccharomyces boulardii, and the majority of the lactobacillus probiotics. Does not matter when you take them in relation to food or how much stomach acid. They all survive fairly well through the stomach, small intestine, and going into the large intestine. The ones that are bifidobacterium type probiotics, these, it does tend to be a little bit better if you have them with food, because when you're eating food, stomach acid gets released, which kind of makes sense, but everything's kind of like diluted into this churned up stomach chine, which is a mixture of stomach acid and food. Therefore, the acidity is a little bit lower, and these bifidobacterium probiotics tend to do a little bit better in surviving till they get to the main part of the microbiome in the large intestine. And then last question I have on here, what does massaging the ileocecal valve accomplish? And this comes from a video, 3 ways to fix gut motility and prevent SIBO. So the ileocecal valve, the main thing you need to know about it is that it separates the small intestine from the large intestine. Food, liquid, everything should be traveling in a one-way street from the small intestine through the large intestine. So if this ileocecal valve gets stuck in an open position, the large intestine, where you have the majority of your microbiome, all those bacteria, potentially could allow them to travel the wrong way, especially if you have poor gut motility, back into the small intestine. And if we're trying to prevent SIBO, this can be a really bad thing. Ileocecal valve, it's halfway between your right hip bone and your belly button. Usually if you lay down on your back flat and you can press in firmly with a few fingers and rotate in a circular motion, and you may hear a gurgling sound or a little bit of pain or tenderness in the ileocecal valve is more likely to be noticed if the valve is in an open position. And if it's open, you can get that reverse migration of bacteria, which we're trying to prevent. So ileocecal valve massage is intended to keep the ileocecal valve closed. That is all the questions I have. This was fun for me. Hopefully you got something out of it, enjoyed the video. If you did, please like and subscribe to my channel for more related content. If you're new here, I post a new video every Monday in YouTube Shorts throughout the week. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.